What's up, y'all? You know what time it is? It's about to be that time.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
What business enterprise?
Ever heard of a little thing called the internet?
Internet, eh?
Savage.
And we're back. One Piece 1067 is out. Quick channel statistics, December 28th, 2019. That was the first chapter review that I did for One Piece on YouTube, and that was for chapter 967, 100 chapters ago.
Chapter 967 of One Piece is out.
Hashtag 100 logs of Randy Troy. That means the Savage crew has been established for 100 chapters. Now, of course, I've been weekly since Skypiea, so I've been with the series for, over 20 years by now. But it wouldn't have been until 30 chapters later at 997 that we would start streaming and really form the crew that we have. And I just want to take a moment at the very beginning to thank everybody that supports the channel in any way. Liking, commenting, subscribing, coming to the streams, channel members, people who watch and don't even comment. There's plenty of you guys out there. Shout out to everybody at the Discord as well. I can't thank you guys enough. I do it every week and I will continue to because I love what we have here. Anyway, let's get into chapter 1067. Here we go. Like, comment, subscribe if you're feeling the vibe. Lore Peace returns in a big way. Vegapunk is dropping that knowledge. My man's got the brain fruit. The nomi. I love that. And he is upset about Momonosuke's fruit. Why?
It's the wrong color.
The wrong color. She says it's the wrong color.
Yeah.
Been saying that.
Another one.
Another one. For the longest time, I was saying the only reason that it is a failure is because it is pink. That is it. We get confirmation that Vegapunk did chop his brain. We were saying that. I mean, it was that's a layup. But it also seems that there is more of his brain to be found up top, at the very top of Egghead, inside of Punk Records. Is Punk Records in itself actually his brain, or is it just like in a box somewhere or in a jar? I fully expect this arc to be Protect Vegapunk, the arc. Cypher Pole will find their way onto the island. They don't have to dock their ship. They can literally fly there. Now, I don't know about all of the schmoes behind them and everything like that. Like, they're Cypher Pole members as well, but they may have to wait until the ship can actually get there. Now, will we get a situation where they end up flying over and then they land where Zoro and Brook are? I've been saying Brook has to get that Cypher Pole fight. Everybody else has had one, including Jinbei, since he fought Who's Who was a former Cypher Pole member. With them wearing masks, I think it would be very interesting if at first Zoro doesn't recognize Kaku and doesn't see Lucci right away, because if he sees the pigeon, I think he's going to remember what's going on here. But it's going to be fun to see where this goes and where the fights go. We're definitely going to see Zoro and Brook very soon, and it's also very possible that Sentomaru is hiding around somewhere because he was introduced to us as Vegapunk's bodyguard. So could Zoro have an interaction with Sentomaru over at the ship? Maybe. Vegapunk wants to create the internet.
Oh, they have the internet on computers now.
This is being told to us for a reason. Why? Because Vegapunk is, at some point, whether it's by himself or through his own will passed down to, say, Frankie, is going to achieve this goal. This is not just filler on the page. This is the way that the world is going to find out the Void history. It is going to be sent to everybody, whether it's actually telepathically going to everybody's minds.
Emails like speaking telepathically through a machine. Staying in touch is using email better than your best dream.
Or if it is going to be on video snails or anything like that, this will happen. Vegapunk has an antenna on his head for a reason. He has created a hive mind scenario for a reason. And we see the effects of this in this chapter as well, because there is a Seraphim Kuma on the ship with Cypherpole, standing behind them as they say that they are going to eliminate Bonnie. Where do we go from that scene afterwards? We go to the Kamabaka Queendom, and we see Kuma act in a way that we haven't seen him act in a very long time. If they are all connected by the same antenna, then what the Seraphim Kuma could be hearing, the regular Kuma could be hearing. And now he knows that they're going to kill his daughter. So him, with his fruit that can send him anywhere, he's on his way to Egghead. Is he going to take Dragon, Ivankov, and maybe some of the other members with him? Who knows? Likely it'll probably just be Kuma so that we can set up this really emotional actual death for Kuma as he protects Bonnie from something. Maybe we'll even get him descending into a vat of molten steel and he just gives a thumbs up as he goes down. Oda's not going to stop at any Terminator references here. Speaking of the Terminator references, we do get a big one in the sense of learning about this gigantic robot that attacked Marijoa 200 years ago. Why is this a Terminator reference? Because just like in Terminator 2, the scientist Miles Dyson was studying the former remains of the first Terminator from the first Terminator movie, which was moving up the timeline for Judgment Day. So, instead of destroying this robot like the government wanted, scientists decided that they were going to study it. Vegapunk now has Vegaforce 1 because of this. Frankie, at some point, will have a gigantic mech because of this. He is going to either study this, he's going to study Vegapunk's blueprints and documents on this particular robot, or he's going to study the Vegaforce 1. Something is going to happen here with that mech, and Frankie is going to have a gigantic mech in the end game of the story. We see the mech in that little flashback panel of it attacking Marijoa holding a spear. When we see the robot in Vegapunk's lab, it has been impaled with its own spear. How did that happen? Who knows? But I do want to get that information. What is important about 200 years ago? We do have a vast timeline. We know that the Void Century was 800 to 900 years ago. We know that 400 years ago was the whole Nolan flashback. 200 years ago we did get one reminder in this chapter. That is when the fishmen were granted their rights from the world government. Prior to that, they were slaves. They were seen as less than. They're still seen that way. Look at who's who. When Vegapunk is talking about this, Jinbei, curiously, has a little bit of ellipses as it's being said. So that is cluing into the fact that Robin mentioning correlation here and the Jinbei thing is Oda telling us that there is a correlation here. The fishmen were involved with this. Now, what is likely to me is that this robot that was from the ancient kingdom was drowned, was at the bottom of the sea, and it's very possible that some fishmen got it to work and then used it as a bargaining chip for their rights. That's one possible scenario, that they managed to get it working, made it climb the red line, and was like, hey, we'll stop the robot if you actually, give us some rights here. Now, the alternative way to that is that someone else got the robot moving, got the energy source going, however, anything like that, but maybe it was fire-based, and the fishmen, the slaves of Marijoa, with their affinity for water, were able to drown the fire and actually save Marijoa. in which case they were granted rights because they saved the celestial dragons. So those are two sides of a possible theory there, and we'll just have to wait and see which one is closer to the truth. Another important fact about 200 years ago is the ship of the Saint Bliss. Now, this is the ship that falls on the Straw Hats as they leave Alabasta before arriving at Jaya, the ship that had the map of Skypiea. Now, if Oda finds a way to tie the Bliss pirates to what happened at Marijoa with this robot, that is going to be one of the most Goda things in the story. My favorite thing about Oda is when he comes back with this little thing that you can go back hundreds of chapters ago, and then he brings it back in a big way. They explored that ship. Sanji, Zoro, Luffy went underwater, found pieces of clothing, pictures, the map, everything. We could get a flashback for these pirates where we actually see the woman in the photograph, where we see someone wearing that shirt. And then to tie it all into this would be very interesting. And it's like, maybe Skypiea is more important than we think. Maybe Burka was more important than we think. Maybe Enel knew things that he didn't share. Maybe it was members of the government that sent the Bliss pirates off into the White Sea until 200 years later they fall from it. Either way, all of this information is important, and it ties into the larger narrative of uprisings across the time period. Everyone else was too early. That's it. Everyone else was too early. And speaking of Jaya, we had a great callback to it with the beetles. You know, Luffy loves his beetles. And we found out Bonnie has a gag. She has a weakness. She doesn't like bugs. Now, I'm very upset with Oda for this, but, you know, I just have to move on from it. I wanted some Kuma lore. Oda wants to hold onto that tight. We're eventually going to get the Bonnie Kuma flashback, maybe even within the next 10 chapters, but Oda didn't want to give it to us yet. So in order to do that, he has Bonnie faint from bugs. And it's like, we're so close. We're on the precipice of getting some information, getting some Kuma lore. And Oda was like, nah, y'all ain't ready for that. I'm ready. Please, I'm ready. Vegapunk wants Luffy to take him off of Egghead. Vegapunk for Straw Hat? Vegapunk for Nakama? I mean, I'm down. Vegapunk, I do feel like he's going to die, you know, before the series is over for sure. But with this particular chapter, I no longer think that it's going to be an Egghead. I think that it could happen in Elbaf. I think that several of his satellites could fall during Egghead, and that could make him weaker to the point where he's essentially dying because pieces of his brain have been attacked. But I think Vegapunk does go with them to Elbaf, and you know, is basically the guide to Saul. And then while he's on Elbaf, after maybe approaching a road poneglyph that is there, and Robin finally reads all 4 of the poneglyphs, Vegapunk can rest easy knowing a little bit more about the true history. Or maybe he goes with them to Laugh Tale and he, you know, gets all of it, and then that's how he broadcasts his message via Wi-Fi to everybody. Or maybe he dies at Elbaf and Frankie, you know, carries his will and then uses the Wi-Fi at Laugh Tale for Vegapunk in honor of. I think it's important at some point to have some sort of Vegapunk and Kid interaction, but it's not going to happen here on Egghead, and it makes sense that it would happen on Elbaf. I see Kid either already being at or on his way to Elbaf, and I would love it, and I've said this before, I would love it if Kid was the actual villain of Elbaf, because he wants to get the information, he starts fighting the giants, you know, maybe he attacks the library, and then, you know, these are the things that we have to address. Kid's not a good guy. Oda said he had major plans for Kid. This is the way to do it, in my opinion. Especially with his punk aesthetic and everything, if it relates to Vegapunk. Let's find out. It would also be interesting, I was talking in the stream, if Vegapunk has a way or figures out a way to download some of his knowledge to the Straw Hats, so he can bestow upon Chopper all of his medical knowledge in some form or fashion. Frankie, his blueprints. Usopp, his weapons. Nami, everything that he's learned about weather. Sanji, anything that, relates to the Germa technology and, just understanding his body more, maybe. There's a lot of ways that things can go, but either way, like, Vegapunk is the way for the Straw Hats to not only understand themselves, but to grow as combatants and just humans and get closer to their dreams. And while it seems very unlikely that Vegapunk would become a Straw Hat, it's more likely than Bonnie, because in this particular chapter, his introduction chapter, if you will, because he was introduced, but this is really where he's like getting to flex a little bit. He says his dream to connect the world. He's got a dream. And it's a massive one. So where do we go from here? I feel like I've been talking about that the entire review. We haven't seen Zoro and Brook for a few chapters. I think it's time. We need to see the reaction to Shaka saying that CP0 cannot dock. So that's either them calling back to Marijoa and then Marijoa sending, reinforcements, or New Marineford sending reinforcements, whether that's Kizaru, Fujitora, more Cypherpole agents, Sentomaru, Smoker, these are the players that I see coming to this arc. So a snail call either back to the Gorosei or to Akainu, very likely. Lucci, Stussy, and Kaku using Geppo to get over to the island. Probably going to happen in the next chapter. The Straw Hats really should get released from their boots very soon. It's kind of weird that he's still keeping them in the boots, but, hey, we'll see what's going on with that. And also, I do expect Lilith to betray them, not in the next chapter, but certainly in chapters to come. And we should see what Kuma's going to do. Fully expect if Kuma's going to teleport himself, we're going to see it in the next chapter. And can he bypass his own 2-day window? That's going to be the question. Because when he slaps everybody, it takes 2 days to get somewhere. But is he faster than that? And that's going to wrap things up, guys. Thank you as always. We are going to have a break this week. I'd like to do a theory for theory. I'm going to reach out to some people. It is Thanksgiving weekend in the United States, so maybe tough to get a guest. I am thinking of moving the stream to Sunday. Do not interfere with any holiday plans, so expect that. Not a stream on Friday, which is, also shopping day in America. Not sure how many people are actually going to go out and shop for Black Friday, but they may still be with families. So Sunday stream, most likely. And because it is the 100th analysis, the 100th chapter review, I want to take this time to individually thank all of the members that have been members for a year or longer. So thank you guys. Shout out to that guy though, Anthony Rieger, Brandon King, Swaboosh, Killer B, Kip/Seaway, Hams, Marios L, all for approaching a year. Shout out to Tyrannosaur, Sanj Saab, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Hikari U, to Sights, Blazing Blue, Hunter Hughes, Trey Bird, Mira, Mark Creasy, Amrit Singh, V Peak Fiction, Ryo, Andrew Austin, Huge, Irk Wicks, John Erickson, Bao Blankenship, Ben DeGear, Scott Treese, Aztec Device, Grass, Ovi, Birkules D. Zori, Benjamin Castellon, Phantom SSJ, Oscar Cruz, Carlos Echeverria, Third Eye Guy, Michael Lacoste, Fable, Harshen, The Hawaiian Punch, Diz of the Ghost, Joy Boy Productions, Sagar Patel, Enigma Sword, Snaz Chan, Steve Schoenbach, Chad Ocho, DJ BJ32, Conrad, Dust Bucket, Aims to Try by Slow, Novum, Lone Shadow, Maria, Frostiff, Mohammed, Mike McGarity, DJ Red Comet, Keyboard Cat, Lou Patterson, MC20, MJ Lucky Star, TM, Dakota Tombow, Chrissy, Yamil Diaz, Phased, Evil Warrior 5, Maximilian Hofer, Patrick Fowler, Atlas K, Maxo, Joe Malomo, Nez1 Us, AJ1218, Lucy B, Very Motivated, Zoe Egan, and of course, Tyrone Will, Guild Ty Zoro, who needs me to call up YouTube and get it situated why he's not up there. Every single one of you, and even the ones that I didn't have a chance to mention, you're all important. You're all part of the squad. You're all part of the crew. Normally I just shout out the new members and whoever rejoined, which also shout out to Tug for joining. But I did say a couple of chapters ago that I wanted to take some time and shout out everybody that's been a member for, at least a year or longer. And this felt like the right time to do it. 100 chapters. Like, that's just crazy. Anyway, this was a fun one. Thanks, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next Theory for Theory stream and for 1068. We'll do another 100 celebration when we get to 1097, because that'll be 100 chapter streams. Yeah, because why not, right? Like, comment, subscribe if you're feeling the vibe. Catch you later. Bye.
I've been swimming deep, deep. Savage.